About all the rest of it, about the ownership and the transferring and the deeds and the this and that. Well, you need a lawyer.
You bet.
And we have one of the best lawyers, condo lawyers in the country here. Denise Lash is joining us as always. And I'm always fascinated, Denise, because you come across some of the most interesting stories.
That's what I mean.
And that's why it's such a great, it's always great to have you on here so we can have a conversation about some of these. So folks that are out there that may never really have thought about some of these more finite things about owning real estate, particularly when it comes to condominium real estate, which so many of us are into now, that we always welcome Denise back to share some wonderful, great stories so our listeners can hang on to that. So, Denise, what's on tap for this week?
Well, it's really interesting because, I've been doing this for 25 years, and every week something new comes up, something that I've never dealt with before. And so I thought it was important to talk about, this is from the perspective of a purchaser, that purchasers have to be careful when they're buying something to let their lawyers know exactly what they're buying. And I'll just get into what happened to me last week, and a condo corporation came to me because a unit owner went to request an electric vehicle station be put in his parking unit.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so that's fine. So
Yep.
they go and look at the parking unit, and they look in the declaration, which is the document that creates the condominium corporation. It's like, when you have a corporation itself, you have the articles of corporation. This
Right.
is a declaration, important document. They go look at it, and the parking unit, which that particular unit owner thought they had, was shown as a locker unit. So, in fact, that unit owner should not be parking their vehicle in a unit that is a locker unit.
Yeah, so, okay, hang on. So you're talking about it was registered as a locker versus a parking spot?
Yes.
Erroneously?
Well, no, because, the condominium declaration says it's a locker unit. There are common expenses that are paid, for parking
Sure.
and locker. And it was paying the locker rate, which is considerably less than a parking unit.
Mm-hmm.
But physically, when you actually go there, there's no locker. It is, a car. He was parking his car there.
That's like either a really small spot or a really big locker, right?
Well, it is the same size. So, exactly. So now the condo is saying, well, what do we do about it? Can we authorize an electric vehicle station? And I said, no way, because the document says it's a locker, and the condo corp has to enforce the document. So,
Well, can you not change it? Can you amend the document?
Okay, so amending the declaration. That is, because it's such an important document,
Right.
there's a couple ways. You could do it if you get 80%. Well, actually, it may be 90%. There's two levels, 90 or 80% consent of all the owners in the building.
To create the amendment?
To create the amendment.
Or to ratify the amendment, yeah.
Well, because what you would have to do is make it into a parking unit, and the common expenses would change for everybody.
Okay.
Because, yeah. So it's not an easy task, or you get a court order saying it's an error, but, wasn't an error, and maybe, possibly. So here is a guy now that thought he was getting a request for an electric vehicle station and may now not be able to use his parking unit for parking. So my question was, what did he think he was buying? What did the agent have on the listing? What was in the agreement of purchase and sale?
Right.
We don't know yet.
Oh, we don't? Okay.
Lou, when you're listing a condo unit, don't you say if there's parking and locker?
Oh, absolutely. But not only that, and when I put a listing up, I identify the location. So let's say P3.
Right.
But it may have a description to it. It could be something else. It could be P3 2B17 or right, like an actual registration. But it's a P3 spot 12, right? That's it.
Right.
But it's registered. So I mostly do both. I write them both in so that the buyer agent, then puts it into the agreement of purchase and sale.
Right.
And then what about the status certificate? So the status certificate is that document that's requested by the purchaser's, it should be the purchaser's lawyer.
Yes.
And so shouldn't the purchaser's lawyer go through it and say, oh, you're getting a parking, a locker, or this is where it is. This is where it's shown on the plan.
Well,
There is,
So if he bought that
there-
under the understanding that it's a parking spot, would that not be defensible in his case to have it put in? Say, I bought this under the understanding that this was a parking spot. My lawyer, blah, blah, blah.
well, did his lawyer review the plans and say, here's the plans? Why didn't the lawyer look at the declaration and say, this is not a parking unit?
well, and that brings up a whole. This opened up a can of worms,
Big
right?
time.
Because this now, I guess, on your side, tell me what you're going to do. Like, you must be in a position where you're going to go back to the original agreement of purchase and sale, look at what the listing agent wrote up, look at what was in the status certificate, all that kind of stuff, right? Like, it's basically just rewinding this process to figure out exactly what happened. This is so crucial to really have the understanding of. Here's the bottom line: you got to know what you're buying.
Totally.
And make every single effort with the tools and the resources that are available through this partnership of agents, brokers, and lawyers to actually figure out, to make sure that when you're signing off that this deal is going firm, you better know exactly.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, and you better have done the due diligence to make sure that that's exactly what you want for that price.
Cool.